I was reading the Christism book this afternoon.
Christism?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed that the era of times like BCE, BC, AD, and I was wondering,
BC and BC?
well, BC before Christ,
And
AD
BC.
after that, before Christ era,
Okay.
I believe. And I was wondering if the question arose as to whether or not the crucifixion happened. How is it that our point in time where we are, as far as 2000 BC, if it never happened, how is it that they use that as a reference point in time?
And what never happened?
The crucifixion, or whether or not it did or not.
The crucifixion happened.
Okay.
All
All right, tell me.
I think what you're trying to, get at is the two calendars. They had the Roman calendar and they had a Greek calendar that became the standard calendar for the modern day Christians. When in actuality, the calendar that was existing during the time of Jesus was the Babylonian calendar and the Jewish calendar. And they look very similar because the Jews, when they came out of captivity in the 5th century under Darius and Cyrus, they came out of Babylon with a Babylonian calendar. And that's why if we look in the Hebrew calendar, we'll find Tammuz is still there, Adar is still there, Baal is still there. The different deities that belong to the Babylonian captivity are still used to this present day in the Jewish calendars. If I was so, I think the BCE and all those things came about when the Nicene was trying to establish a time for when Christ was born. Now they have even a harder problem because now that they have translated a lot of Dead Sea Scrolls, they really got the time zones mixed up. They're able to log exactly when the Savior was born by the conjunction of the stars. And this was recorded in Chinese records. It was recorded amongst the Persians when there's a conjunction of all the stars. This is what the Magi, which is a short name for Masonics, were logging when they were trying to find out exactly where the Christ child would be born. And in everybody's culture, they had a different name for him. This is where the problem comes in. For instance, in the Islamic culture, they called him Isa al-Masih. And amongst the Persians, he was called Mazda or Maitreya. Right? So everybody was expecting this incarnated being to come, the avatar to come to earth, as the Hindus call him Krishna. You follow? But the wise men who kept the records of him were doing it by the motion of the stars. And they knew that when the constellation of Leo came, that's why they called him the Lion of Judah. The constellation of Leo would come and line up. They knew there'd be certain planets would fall in place. And that happened at a specific year, which was 7 AD. And so they knew exactly then, and they based it also on the death of Herod, and exactly when he died, and at what age Jesus the Messiah was when he came back out of Egypt. So they were able to log down his exact date of birth and year as 7 AD. AD, or Anno Dominus, don't really mean nothing but after death. And it becomes really funny because, as I explained in the Christ's book, if Jesus is born in year 1, is it BC or AD? And that's when the people get confused, because actually they created a fictitious date for the Catholic Church because they didn't know exactly. Some people said he was born in 4, but the astrologers and those people, because of the alignment of the stars, they knew exactly when he was born. And that's how he was able to be protected. Okay? Anybody else got a question? Please stand.
Matthew, chapter 12, and I just said, what is meant that the Son of Man will be in the heart of the earth for 3 days? Verse 39 through 41.
Matthew chapter what?
12.
Okay. Let's read it and see what God tells us. Go ahead. Can y'all go to the verse before it so you can get the picture? Go ahead. Notice what they're saying, right? Certain of the scribes turned to him and called him rabbi. right? Master, we are seeking a sign from you, right? And how does Jesus answer? And why does he say that? Because when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees of his time, he called them the synagogues of Satan. He called the Jews of his time, he said, I know the blasphemy of those who call themselves Jews and are not. They are synagogues of Satan. He also said to them, you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a liar and a killer. Jesus was trying to make it real clear that those people in time that he was here 2,000 years ago that were calling themselves the Jews were not the tribe of Judah that he was sent for. Because it says in the Bible, he said, I was not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The lost sheep of the house of Israel means that the tribe, out of all the 12 tribes of Israel from Jacob, some group of them were lost. And how did that happen? That happened because of a conflict when David was at his dying bed, where an argument arose between the two sons. The oldest son was called Adonijah, and the youngest son was called Solomon. Solomon was a mulatto because David violated the covenant of Abraham and the covenant of Isaac, and he took a Hittite wife, the daughter of Uri, which are Caucasians, and mixed his seed. Thus, the description you get in the Bible of Solomon is that his stomach was pearly white, and his hair was locks and black. But he didn't have what we refer to as negroid hair, and he did not have a brown complexion. He was a mulatto or a light-skinned black person. So his seed had been tampered with by mixing in with the cursed seed of Canaan. You follow the Hittites. Now, the other son, which is the oldest son, was Adonijah. And we know that the first son is really supposed to be the heir in Israel. But since the time of Cain and Abel, the devil has managed to step in between that, and every first son was put down, and a second son was given the power to rule. You follow? In this case, when that conflict started, instead of the ruling of the land of Israel going into Adonijah's hands, the land was given to Solomon. And Adonijah was pushed to the south, and he set up his own empire called Judea. And certain tribes followed him, Dan and Benjamin. The other tribes stayed to the north, and they set up the kingdom of Israel. And this causes a lot of problems in the scriptures, whether it's the Bible or even the Koran of the Muslims, because they're not able to differentiate when they say Beni Israel or the children of Israel, just who they're talking about, because the theologians have not really studied the languages enough to find out where they're separated. Okay, the children of Israel who were under Solomon and said the kingdom of Israel became jealous of the people who were south, called the Judeans, and continued to attack them. Eventually, the Judeans had to move south. And as they moved south, a portion of them, Benjamin, settled in the tips of Arabia, where the land of Sheba was set up, the Sabians, and dropped the name Ben, and the country became known as Yemen, of the right side. The other sons, Dan and Judah, continued on into what you call today Ethiopia, Habashia or Cush, and mixed on up inside there, passed on through. Became known, the tribe of Dan became known as Danakil. And you can look them up, and they're still in all along the Eritrean, going up into the northern part of the Rashada tribe, up into Ethiopia, passing up. The other tribe, which is referred to as the tribe of Judah, when they say their name, they didn't say Judah. They said Yahudah. You with me? Yahudah. And the word Hudah in the ancient Semitic language, Syriac, from which Arabic came, was guys. Guys. So this tribe later affixed a M, as they would do in Semitic. Give me an example is, if you take the name King of Salem for Melchizedek,